It started with one word, a word so loaded with hate. It can crush a person's spirit in an instant. I thought addressing it would be the right thing, protecting my kids, teaching respect. But instead, I became the villain. Parents accused me. My boss turned on me, and the truth was twisted beyond recognition. All because I refused to stay silent. What really happened that day, and why did doing the right thing almost cost me everything? Some stories don't just open your eyes. They stay with you, shaping the way you see the world. This is one of those stories. A moment when standing up for what's right came with a price, and a lesson we can't afford to forget. When summer began, I thought I'd landed my dream job, working at a kids' camp in a quiet Midwestern town. The pay wasn't great, but the laughter, the energy, and the chance to make a difference kept me going. I was the only black teacher in the department, but I didn't think much of it at first. My days were filled with crafts, games, and the little victories of helping kids grow. But under the cheerful noise, something darker stirred, whispers, glances, and a feeling I couldn't quite shake. I didn't know it yet, but one child's choice of words was about to test everything I believed in and expose a prejudice I'd been trying to ignore. It happened on an ordinary afternoon. Kids laughing, the sound of sneakers pounding the gym floor. Then one of my sweetest, most respectful campers ran to me, eyes wide, words tumbling out. He just said, and then that word, the word that drips with centuries of hate, the one you can't unhear. I pulled the two boys aside. The brat looked smug, already rehearsing his excuse. He said he'd meant to say nugget, but the smirk on his face told me everything. Minutes later, he admitted the truth. I explained why that word was unacceptable, called his parents, and wrote him up. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Over the next month, his behavior spiraled, stealing from my bag, breaking lights with scissors, harassing other kids. Each time I documented it. Each time, the consequences seemed lighter for him than they would have been for anyone else. Then came the whispers from my boss, the cold stares from his parents, the way they'd speak only to my white co-teacher, as if I didn't exist. The real blow came on a Friday afternoon. I was called into my boss's office. She told me the parents had accused me of targeting their son, that my write-up over the racial slur was overreacting, that maybe he really had a friend named Nugget. She even suggested my other kids had taught him the word, as if he were the victim. Every sentence felt like a slap. I protected my kids, upheld the rules, and now my own boss was asking me to move rooms to make her life easier. I sat there, stunned. The walls felt closer. My chest burned, not just with anger, but with the sharp sting of betrayal. And yet, a part of me knew this wasn't over. Because if I let them move me quietly, they'd win. And I wasn't about to hand them that victory. I could feel my pulse hammering in my ears as I sat across from my boss. Her voice was calm, too calm, like she'd already decided I was a problem. She repeated the parents' claims, that I'd singled out their son, that the racial slur was just a misunderstanding, that moving me would keep the peace. Something inside me snapped. I told her I wouldn't move rooms. I'd invested my time, my heart, and my own money into those kids. I reminded her of every incident, every theft, every act of harassment, every dangerous stunt he'd pulled. Her expression never changed. Then she leaned forward and said it. Maybe you should have let it go. He probably didn't even know what it meant. The room seemed to tilt. My throat tightened. Let it go? Pretend it didn't happen? Excuse a word that cuts deeper than any wound? I wasn't just fighting for my dignity anymore. I was fighting for the safety and respect of every child in my care. I told her she wanted me gone. She'd have to fire me. The silence that followed was suffocating. She stared at me like I'd just broken some unspoken rule, like I wasn't supposed to stand my ground. But I did, because in that moment I knew If I stayed quiet, if I stepped aside, then this wouldn't be the last time that word was excused or the last time someone like me was silenced. I kept my job. I stayed in that classroom. And every day after, I walked in with my head high, even when I could feel the stares, even when I knew whispers were circling behind my back. The boys' behavior didn't magically change, but I made sure my other kids knew. This was a place where respect mattered, where hateful words had no home. Looking back, it wasn't just about that single incident. It was about every moment of my life where silence was expected, where speaking up meant being labeled difficult or the problem. This time, I refused to carry that label. The sad truth? For many people of color, this isn't an extraordinary story. It's a routine one. Racism doesn't always shout. Sometimes it hides behind polite smiles, behind excuses like, "He didn't mean it," or "You're overreacting." And every time we let it slide, we teach the next generation that it's okay. So I'll ask you, what would you have done? Would you have let it go to keep the peace? Or would you have stood your ground, knowing it might cost you everything? Because if we don't speak up in these moments, then nothing changes. And maybe that's the real danger. Not the word itself, but the silence that follows it. This story is inspired by real-life events, but has been adapted for entertainment and educational purposes. Names, locations, and identifying details have been changed to protect privacy. The video contains themes of racism and discrimination that may be sensitive to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The opinions expressed in this story are those of a narrator and do not necessarily reflect the views of this channel.